Good morning, GATECON. All right, Francis, save my ass. Run titles. Good morning, GATECON! Sunday. Have you had a good event? Thank you. I have not asked this of you yet. Please log into YouTube, dial the gate, subscribe to us, like this panel. It'll encourage the algorithm to get more Stargate content going. Enough of that gobbledygook out of the way. Mr. Peter DeLuise and David DeLuise, please. Good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having us.
It takes a minute. There you
Does
go.
it take a minute?
Yeah.
So I'm not the first one to do that?
No, I think you're good now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Hello, Vancouver.
Thank you so much for accepting our offer to come back. This is a privilege. This is a treat to have you both together. I am
David
privileged,
DeLuise, how are
right?
you? Nice to meet you.
Peter, I'm your older brother.
I'm privileged to call this one my friend, and his little dachshund, whom I see before, his great uncle,
Little Tony.
So this is an absolute treat. So thank you.
Well, I kind of had to. You had my brother. I had no excuse, right?
I'm going to go for questions right off the bat. So that one is going to come up near the end of the show. So, oh, okay.
That person has to hold their question
Yes.
the whole
Is
time?
that the one sitting in the front row there? Was it for the one sitting in the front row? Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and have him ask the question.
All right, this better be good.
Hello, it's working. Hello, there we go. Hey, this question's for Peter. I'm not sure if you remember all the actors you work with or whatever, but there was an episode in season 2, episode 20, called Show and Tell, where there was a young kid walking through the Stargate, a Ritu, and I hear working with kids can be very difficult. I hear that guy might be kind of a jerk, and I was just wondering if you had any memories of working with that young actor.
I don't know if I should. Is he done with this question? Is that Greg? Is that Greg?
Jeff.
Jeff. It's Golka, right?
Yeah.
Last name Golka, right? You're
right.
the dude. You're the actual dude. Come here, man. Come here. Get up here. Get up here. Get up here.
Jeff, come on stage.
So come on over here. Come on over here. So you had to come through the Stargate, right?
That's right.
All right, let's reenact this. All right,
Okay.
so you go through the Stargate. So you came through the Stargate, right? And we
looking like Kenny.
We shot it. We shot your feet, and then we tilted up,
correct.
right? Okay, so we're tight shot on the feet coming up, and stop. And then we came up, and it was a little kid. It was you, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
And you were pointing a gun at me.
I was. All right, I'll be the guy in the gun. I was in the gun, right? And then the thing stopped, and I was pointing the gun at you, and I looked to the side. Is that a little kid I'm pointing a giant gun at? Yeah, that was my cameo for that particular episode, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. And then, because you were underage at the time, I had to shoot you out, didn't I? And you looked at me and you said, "What are you gonna do? How are you gonna shoot me out of this scene? I'm the focus of this entire scene." And I was like, "Oh, this kid's getting on my last nerve." All right. And to endear myself to you, I gave you a Game Shark.
That's right. And also in exchange for not consuming any sugar on set.
Right, because we didn't want you getting antsy, right?
Yes, and I was very into the fuzzy peaches at the time.
Ooh, fuzzy peaches. Sounds dirty when you say it. All right, give me a hug, dude. Well, I'm so glad you're here. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All
Good
right.
to see ya.
Yeah. All right. Don't trip on
Oh,
your way out.
I'm aware.
All right. That's cool that he's here.
You guys all remember that episode?
And he had the hoodie.
Correct.
Yeah, that was neat. I really liked that. I remember him looking up at me with this really smug expression on his face, because obviously you'd worked before, but he was like, how are you going to shoot me out? I turned into a pumpkin in like 5 minutes.
Anyone else have a question? Did we go into
There's
no?
one in the back, the paddle.
The paddle number 2.
Hi, thank you for being here. We just rewatched Fragile Balance, and always amazed at the performance by Minnie O'Neill, Michael Welsh, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that episode.
Michael Welsh. So that was mini-me for Richard Dean Anderson. That's right. So because Michael Welsh had not watched the show, what ended up happening was I took on the role of just do it like this, right? And I said, because I was so familiar with the way in which the dryness and the personality that Richard Dean Anderson inevitably would say his lines, I would just cut through the BS and just go, look, he just does it like this. He stands like this. He throws these things aside. And by the time Richard Dean Anderson got on set, he had his
tics.
He had his tics and his little thingies kind of figured out. And also, Michael's was at the time a very excellent. He's not here too, is he?
He's not.
Oh.
I have only so many rabbits I can pull out of my hat.
Right. Yeah. So the wryness, the behavior, and it's always amusing when a grown-up's personality is stuck in a child's body, right? So that's an interesting thing if you can pull that off. Yeah.
No, I know no one who behaves that way.
No?
At all. So.
He's me. He means me. I did the.
No, go. I'm done. Well, I don't know what more I can say about that was Michael Welsh was imitating me, imitating Richard Dean Anderson. That's how that worked.
And
yeah.
he was also having a bit of acne that week, and he was like, I really need this to go away. And Peter was like, leave it. It's a kid going through hormones,
Of course,
It's
natural.
he was like, Peter
not
DeLuise is a sick genius.
Well, there's nothing we could do to fix it. If it's
Makeup, cover it with makeup, and you were like,
right,
no, let's
but
bring it out.
Just so you know, a three-dimensional
Yes.
thing is not. You're never going to fix that
That's true, too.
unless you throw money at it in post as a visual effect, right? Yeah.
David, what was the advice that Peter gave you
Yeah.
when you showed up? I love this line.
I was asked the other day, did I audition for it or what happened? And you had called me and said, you guys wanted me to come and do this. And then when I got there, you said, you have to act like a grown-up, David. and I want to do a whole thing with you where I act like Peter, and then Peter acts like me, which is, how do you imitate me? David, you have to act like a grown-up. Okay. No, but I love that, and I talked about the fact that I got to do this part and be a grown-up, so it was really fun to do that.
Well, you were playing a police officer who was dating
See?
a really brilliant
Scientist, military person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was like, and if you look like a goof, you'd make Carter look like a goof, because why would she be interested in a guy like you?
And how did I do, everyone?
Right? Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, more questions. Here we
Number
paddle.
one.
The paddle one.
Hello. So Stargate has been off the air for many, many years, and we as fans are still showing up to conventions and stuff like that. And so what do you think about the fans still loving the show and coming back?
I think it's great.
That's a brilliant answer. So,
That's a brilliant answer.
Subtitles. Peter just said, "You're an idiot." No, I'm kidding.
but I think when a show is it's a little bit dated. There is the odd mullet haircut, right? But overall, it's a testament to the quality of the show when people can still enjoy it and they can introduce their kids to it, and it still holds up as not period or very like I did a show called 21 Jump Street as a much younger person. But it was because we were trying to be, fashion forward. A lot of the things that we did on the show don't hold up, and they look, quite frankly, they look ridiculous, including my mullet hair.
Yeah, but we loved your mullet, Peter.
Thank you for that. I didn't know I had hockey hair at the time. The mullet, I thought I was just copying Mel Gibson from Lethal Weapon. I thought, that's a good haircut, I'll just do that. So I'm getting sidetracked. But the point I'm trying to make is, if the material holds up over time, that's a testament to the core thing. I mean, there were 2 franchises off of that, right? And then if people are still following the show and they're still invested in it, that's another reason to bring it back, right? Yeah. So I think that if it does come back, one of the reasons it will have come back is because of you all that are sitting right there, taking the time to show your interest in the original material.
Yeah, like Brad said, it's evergreen, There's something about it. It continues to remain topical. In some spooky cases, becomes more topical, depending on the subject, over time.
Agreed. And it's absolutely without compromise, or without comparison, rather, it is the absolute best tool to tell the story. It is the perfect, quote, door in, unquote, to getting through any story. All you have to do is walk through this door, this portal, and there's anything, you can find anything you want on the other side of that portal. And Brad Wright and Jonathan Glasner knew that when they were producing Outer Limits, and they saw that the show was an MGM property, and they went, that's got to be a series. That's the most perfect story device in the history of story devices. And so that's how that came to pass. And it still is. It's still the most perfect way to start a story. All you have to do is walk through that thing, and you can find anything on the other side.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yes, there's not a paddle, but a hand. Oh, there's another paddle.
There's paddle 2.
Do you have to pay extra for the paddle? Yeah.
I think they're tipping the guys, frankly. That's how they do it all these years.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I was wondering if you could say Big-Ger.
Yeah, so that's us from
It's
Wormhole
a
Extreme.
posture. It's a
Yes.
posture as well.
Yeah. So on Wormhole Extreme, we had this running joke where the special effects guys were showing me explosions, and I had to say, so the first one was, no, bigger. What is it about the word bigger that you don't understand, right? Look at my lips. Bigger. Boom. Bigger!
I actually have a question.
Yes.
And I just thought about, this is not a plant or a thing. How did it come about to have Dad on the show, to Urgo? And I was having breakfast with people today, and they said that was one of their favorite episodes.
Urgo, top 5, easily. Yes.
So one of the staff writers, whose name escapes me at the moment, the one who was credited by the written by on that, he, I think, pitched a story whereby the amalgamation of their inner child, their id, their AI id, was coming together.
Tor Alexander Valencia.
Tor. It was. I think it started with Tor's pitch, and Brad recognized that would have to be a very special character. The AI. Is that something you need to deal with?
Keep going.
And so I remember Tor had this really interesting sort of shit-eating grin on his face, and he and Brad kind of came up to him and went, we have this idea. We want to know what you think. So there's this fun episode, and we were thinking that maybe your dad could play the title role. And I was like, my dad does comedy. Like, this isn't, his brand of comedy is not conducive to this show. Are you sure? And they go, well, we think when you hear the idea, and after I heard the idea, I was like, oh, my dad's gonna kill this. This is gonna be awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I remember being on speakerphone, and they Brad was on the speakerphone, and Dad was in Vermont, and we owned a house in Vermont, and my dad was in the back, and we were making small talk, and he said, "I'm just looking out at the." I said, "Hey, Dad, it's your son Peter." "Yeah, I remember you. What do you want?" Yeah. So I'm here with Brad Wright. He's my boss from Stargate, and they were thinking, well, I'll let him talk. And my dad said, "Well, I'm just looking out the view, so go ahead. I'm not doing anything. Just ask me what you're going to ask me." And I was like, "Okay." And so Brad started in, and then my dad went, "Oh my God! It's bigger than a bread box. It's got a tail." And I was like, "Oh, he's looking at the woods. There's wild creatures out in the forest. That's what that is." He doesn't segue. He doesn't transition at all. And Brad goes, I know, I get it. And after Brad was done finishing telling, my dad was going to say yes no matter what he was going to say. It was like it's an excuse to come up to Vancouver, and it was a job, and he didn't have to audition, and which he didn't.
See his child.
Yes, yes, that was all part of it. So I mean. My dad was like, "Oh, yes. He's like, "Well, we haven't finished this. It's not just one character, it's two characters. Is it Togar? Togar, yeah. So he had to play two.
This Togar.
Yeah. So he was super in that. And then the whole rest of it was just making sure he was comfortable, right? Because we gave him a really substantial chair. You know the one in the kitchen? Mm-hmm. That chair was from Stargate.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that chair, his on-set chair, was a substantial chair, and he could sit right there, right next to where he needed to be.
Right. He had a hard time getting around and walking, and his hips were not great. So
and you can kind of tell when he's moving around, but he was so full in every other aspect of that. And so getting him there and making sure he was comfortable so he could be the funniest guy possible, that was all the trick of that. And then he liked this chair so much that the Stargate production wrapped it up and sent it to him, and he sat on that chair for, I don't know,
the rest of his
life in the kitchen. That was his main chair, that he would hang out in.
And directing him.
Well, directing was awesome because I knew what he could do, and I knew that we shouldn't limit him to so I always kept him alive in the two-shot, and then I'd shoot him, and then keep that alive in the two-shot, and then I'd shoot the other person, but the two-shot would keep him going, right? So I'd get a couple extra takes out, right? Yeah, and then he would just make stuff up, and the other actors would just try not to laugh as best they could.
Christopher Judge said, you want to go and see some bloopers. The Urgo, the amount of, apparently, according to Christopher, the amount of tape, film that you guys went through was fairly extreme.
Quite a lot. So. And then to Brad Wright's credit, I only had a certain amount of time in the editing room, so I put in all the jokes that I thought were there. But Brad went even deeper, and he went to he mined all the gold nuggets, and also it was up to him to elaborate how much do we dare go with these Urgo jokes or not, right? And
God, that was a good question.
So great. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. You got another one?
Paddle, paddle, paddle.
Where's the paddle?
Paddle.
Who's got the paddle?
I see a
go.
paddle over there.
It is. I see. Yeah.
Hi. So one of my favorite episodes was Upgrades, and the bar scene with where Sam's doing the pool shot and stuff. I don't remember where I learned this, so I'm wondering if you guys could elaborate more on it. But like the bed on the table and the people in the background, it was really, I remember learning it wasn't really so much acting as it was an actual bet and everything. And I was just wondering if you guys could elaborate more on that.
O'Malley's at the restaurant.
Oh, the pool shot. Yeah. I didn't direct that one. That was, so the Upgrades is the one where they're all moving around like the Flash, like super fast. I wish I knew the answer to that. I'm so sorry. I didn't direct that episode, and I was probably prepping the next one, and so I'm out of the loop. I apologize for not having the answer to that. How they did the pool shot.
I don't know the story as well. No. Shame on me. Who else? There we go. Number two.
There's battle too.
Yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering how you actually got involved with Stargate.
Take us back to the beginning. How'd you get into it?
Oh, how did you get involved?
So there are two producers Jonathan Glasner and John Smith, John Smith, which totally sounds like a fake name, right? Like he's in the Witness Protection Agency or something, right? Both of those fellas were on a show called 21 Jump Street, and 21 Jump Street is how I got my start as a director. And so I was periodically coming up here to try to audition for local stuff, and John Smith was there doing a show called TWO, which was Eastman. Was a evil twin and a good twin. It was in the old days, and
I have no idea what it is, but yeah.
I was auditioning for that show, and after the audition was done, John said, "Hey, you know, if you lived up here and you had your Canadian resident status, you could qualify for Canadian content, and I could hire you as a director because I know you're a good director because you directed 21 Jump Street, which I used to work on." I was like, "I'll take you up on that." So took me a while, but I got my landed immigrant status as a Canadian, and I called him and I said, "Hey, John," I went through a fair amount of trouble to get my status. And as I said, it took 2 years, and I called him up, and I was super excited, and I said, "John, I got my status. I'm up here, and I'm in Vancouver. Do you have a job for me?" And he's like, "Well, 2's canceled, so I don't." And then this other show that I'm working on, Stargate, has all the jobs are full, but you'll be the first alternate. And I thought basically he was giving me the heave-ho, like, you went through all this trouble for nothing. You're not going to get a job. And then Mario as a party, as it happens, dropped out of his directing assignment to go do a movie of the week, which was a better deal for him, which left an opening for me. So John said, "Well, we're going to slot you in." And Jonathan Glasner knew who I was already from having worked with him. So he said he had his blessing as well. And I had never worked with Brad White before that moment. But you know, my job on that first show was just to endear myself to the cast, especially Richard Dean Anderson, because if he doesn't like you, you're out, man. So I was like, I'm going to try to do the best I can and get through this. And it went well. The courting phase went well, and they had me back. And that's the fastest way I could tell that story. Thank you for your question.
Anne-Marie was in The Other Side. Any, yes. And Cameron Mitchell's ex from...
Bounty? Was it Bounty?
From Bounty, yes.
Yeah.
And she was mentioned earlier. What's her name?
The Bounty character? Or
No, Cameron Mitchell's ex-girlfriend.
Emery would know. Emery, stand up. Emery, there she is. It's my wife. I wake up to that every morning. Can you believe it?
Amy Vandenberg, everyone.
Amy. Nerney. Yeah. Yes.
There we go.
Correct.
What
Yes.
was it like having Anne-Marie in production on The Other Side?
So The Other Side was awesome. You played Farrell, right? I remember that because there was an ice cream franchise in California called Farrell's. So I remember Farrell, yeah. And so you had, your hair was all swept back, and you had the sci-fi do, and she was the lieutenant of Renee Aubergenois.
I said
Great.
the
Say
reconnaissance
that 10
vessel
times fast.
was an unmanned drone.
Yeah. Yes. That was the big twist at the end. And we dropped a rock. Emery was the lieutenant, and they were all white people, and that was another plot twist. And they were warring against the black and brown people who were the breeders.
The breeders,
yes,
that's right.
They were just breeding willy-nilly without
Indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately, yeah. And so Emery was part of the bad guy group, and she has piercing blue eyes, which still haunt me to this day. And she was amongst the bad guys, the white guys. And then at the end, it was a rumbling, and the typical James Bond ending. The headquarters is caving in. We got to get out. Yeah. So I was like, well, we don't know what happens to Anne-Marie's character. We got to figure this out. So what we did was, I said, I'll do a quick cutaway of Anne-Marie looking up and shying away from a giant rock that's threatening, and we dropped. For perspective, we dropped a giant styrofoam rock in the foreground, not unlike what you would see in Wormhole X-Treme. Yeah,
It's just getting them thrown at him.
And so as we dropped it, she was so on it that she looked up, she went, ah! And then she fell exactly underneath the trajectory of this giant
As it's
rock.
in front.
And I was looking at, I wasn't looking at her at the time, I was looking at the onboard camera, as I want to do, to make sure we got the shot. And I thought she had really been hit. Oh, wow. And I thought, oh my God, I just bonked my girlfriend on the head with a giant rock. And so I was super, and I was, are you okay? And she got up laughing. She says, of course I am. There's the rock, there's me. That's what you set up. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not usually this precise or antsy, yeah. But, and then Amory was so good that we had her back later for Bounty, and she got to kiss on Browder.
Perpetual.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, he kissed on her, and I was like, hey. One take at a time, buddy. Give it a rest. Yeah.
It was so great to have her back. That was a great little, because Amy had been mentioned earlier, and the writers are like, there's some kind of, we've already mentioned someone. Let's reuse that character.
That's
Let's
great.
build the world.
I love when they do that. I love when they mention a character and then they introduce it for real, and then they have to go back in the files and figure out what was her name again? Yeah,
That's right.
I love that stuff.
There you go.
Number 1 here. Number 2, please. Number 2. Okay.
Number 2.
We'll get to number 1. You hang tight.
Yes, you're next.
After these messages.
I've been hearing a lot of people talk, and I'm not real caught up in it.
This is Stargate.
No, I'm real caught up in that. I'm talking about the behind the scenes. And I was just wondering, David, you talked a little bit about what you were doing the other day. I would like to hear Peter talk about what he's doing now. I don't know whether it's directing. Are you doing any cameo acting?
Peter's
Like
directing
Like currently?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, right now, because
He's
I
doing
know.
a show called When Calls the Heart. He does many, many directing gigs. He's very busy. Can I have a job? No.
My brother's right. I'm currently working. A lot of the jobs that I'm getting lately have been from Hallmark, the Hallmark Channel. Does anybody here watch the Hallmark Channel? Oh, crossover, nice. So not just sci-fi all the time. Although some people might think When Calls the Heart is a bit of sci-fi because it's a parallel universe where everything is wonderful. I've been directing When Calls the Heart quite a lot. Yeah.
Do you, if an acting part came up, would you do acting
for
still?
sure.
Do
Yeah.
you enjoy that as well? No?
do.
I mean, I know you and Anne-Marie did a movie recently, right?
Well, we were role-playing for to spice up our marriage. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. We did summer. What is it, Summer Honey? All summer long. That was a thing that we did together, where we took on a project, a boat project, and we made it into a dinner cruise. But yeah, so I mourn the loss of being able to perform. One of the unfortunate byproducts of being a director is I make more money and I have tons of responsibility, which is awesome. Except my lifestyle is reflective of that, right? So when I try to work as an actor, especially as a local Canadian actor, it's almost impossible to pay those bills that I have to pay, right? So if I'm going to do it, it invariably has to be something that I'm already directing because I'm available, because I can't turn down directing jobs to do acting jobs. Yeah. And the other part of that is a lot of these Canadian actors that you were seeing up here, they're committed, right? So if they're going to have a family and they have a mortgage and stuff, they've got to hit the ground running, and they have to work all the time. So they're constantly plugging away, and many Canadian actors have to have a secondary income to fill in the gaps. Yeah. Otherwise, they can't pay for the private school and the mortgages.
Some American actors do as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Virgin River?
You know what? You know who's doing Virgin River is Martin Wood. That's a wonderful series. I've seen. I'm almost all caught up. I haven't seen this last season, but I'm all caught up. If you haven't seen Virgin River, I highly recommend it. And
It's
Martin
very good.
Wood, I think Andy Makita even works on that show, does he? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know why they don't call me. I'm available, but yeah, that's a wonderful show, and I wish I was on it, but I'm not. But Andy Makita and Martin Wood are directing that show.
Number 1, we're back.
Number 1.
Peter, can you share a story from seaQuest?
Story from seaQuest. Dagwood.
So you know seaQuest. Who here has even heard of seaQuest?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You want me to share a story from seaQuest? Okay.
Hello, Horsey.
Hello, Horsey. That was a good one. Patrick Hasberg was a writer, producer, showrunner on 21 Jump Street, and he migrated to seaQuest. And so he called me and he said, "There's this interesting exotic part that I think you would be right for."
And this is after Whale Song.
Correct. I had done with Jonathan Banks was
Amazing.
Yes.
We are gonna leave.
Yeah.
Turn ourselves in.
So that was the first. So Patrick said, "There's this guest spot. It's not much of a thing, but it is something. So we'll get you in there." And then a new part was coming up, which was scheduled to be a local. So they were moving the show from L.A., Universal L.A., to Orlando.
Correct.
And they had designated that part, the part that I ended up playing, as a local part. So they weren't going to pay the extra money for the salary or the relocation. Thank you, honey. Relocation fee. And,
You go, girl.
yeah. And because it was such an exotic, wonderful character, I was like, this feels cool. I would love to do this. And I knew at the time that he had the mottled skin, which was a genetic. He was an experiment,
Genetically
engineered life form, a GELF. Thank you, where he had all the different skin tones, and that mottled look made up his skin camouflage, right? And that's how that was supposed to work. And he had superhuman strength, but because he was the prototype and they hadn't developed his mental skills very well, they put over importance on discipline versus smarts. And so he came out not unlike Lenny from Of Mice and Men, a big little kid. So I was like, this is a great opportunity. I really want to. I don't really care about the salary. I'm happy to get back in front of the camera. So I said, yeah, let's make this happen. And my niece,
My daughter,
Riley, was just learning to talk, and when
she was 8.
yeah. So she was a great character study for that. Yeah. So anyway, you would say mama, and she would go dada, right? But this noise, she was like she was warming up her vocal cords. I stole that. I stole that speech thing, and so many other more things where I was just relaxing my throat as characters. And I shaved my head in anticipation of getting the role, only to find out that they couldn't get any of the other Gelfs, nicknamed Daggers. They couldn't get any of the other actors to shave their heads because
you were the only one.
No.
Yeah, but you were the prototype.
But that's how they justified it. But they were like, well, Peter's already shaved his head. What are we going to do? And it was good. It was a good look because it was exotic. Now it was different. So I was like, oh, I'm happy to keep it, right? And William DeVry was one of the Daggers. William DeVry ended up playing one of the Tok'ra. Yes. Oh, thank you, Aldwin, for reminding me. And he had said, what do you think I should do? I'm Canadian. I said, go to Canada, man. Yeah, totally go to Canada. You work all the time. And I think he did, and he did go to Canada, and he did work all the time. And he ended up being a Tok'ra on
Exactly.
on,
You had
Stargate.
the best one-liners on seaQuest. My favorite. I'm not a freak. I'm a prototype.
I'm a prototype. the horsey line was ad-lib.
Was.
So
Hello,
the horseman,
horsey.
hello, horsey, and then, but Michael and I had to walk up. I saw a horsey. Right? A horse? a horse is a horse. And then my brother goes, of course, which is from Mr. Ed. Yeah. And we were like, oh, we were for sure Patrick was going to get mad at us. He was like, that was hilarious. All right, we're going to keep that.
See seaQuest if you haven't. It is a gem. One of the best childhood memories of the other from each of you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, my my childhood memory, I've mentioned this recently, that for some reason my parents left Peter in charge of me and my brother when he was 17, and we have these things on sticks with pillows called batakas, and he would wake me up at 2 in the morning and beat me out of bed and then look at me and go, run. And then I would run and I would try to turn on the light, but he had already cut the power at the fuse box. And then he would hunt me with a BB gun. No. I forgot you were here. Hi, David DeLuise. How are you? Wait, you don't know that's a story.
You tell the story every time. You tell the
It's
story
a good
every time.
story. What do you want?
Yeah, but I mean, we were just kids back then. Yeah.
Well, now you know where you have to top it.
Yeah. I don't know if you do. You really?
We had
do
a
you
lot.
Tell that story often? With the
No, I've never told that story. It was brand new. What are you, Peter? Come on. No, I love that story. It's a good story. But there's a lot, David. There's a lot of wonderful things. Peter was a very good older brother, although he would get paralyzed a lot on top of me.
That was a game we used to play, yes.
And then he would get unparalyzed, and I would try to move, and then he would get paralyzed again on top of me.
No, we're not done.
He would squirm out, and then I go, "Oh, I'm not paralyzed anymore." And then
But to be real, we used to make movies when we were kids. That was the fun time that we got to be creative. And my dad had gotten us a video camera when video cameras were not easily accessible.
You guys remember the old video cameras that had that whole huge cassette thing that was, and you still have it, and you had to put it on your shoulder, and you had to carry it along with you.
Yeah, we had to make movies as kids. That was what was so fun, you know.
And even before that, my dad would have a Super 8 camera, and he would edit in the camera. So he would shoot the master, and then he'd say, "Now say this," and it was silent. So he would have to. Every time he projected the whole movie, he would have to re-loop it for us in real time while we were watching it.
And we did Dracula, and we did
the Bloody Cave Brothers.
Your own versions.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
And they're on YouTube. If you look that up, you can see that. And Michael, our brother, did a really smart thing before my dad passed away. He recorded him doing the narration. So if you guys want to see that,
we
you
used
can.
to enjoy it. Yeah. As kids.
Absolutely. Got to check that one out.
So quick story. I got to tell a story on him now too, right? Okay, so
shit.
You're not getting out of it.
So do you guys remember the movie Young Frankenstein?
Great. No.
So in the movie
I didn't
Young
realize we could
Frankenstein,
use props with the
in the
storytelling.
movie Young Frankenstein, there was a little girl in the little girl sketch where she would be throwing the flowers into the thing right before the monster came. Do you guys remember that? And it was based on the original Frankenstein, right? Because the pretty little flower would go in the thing, and then the monster picks up the girl, and he throws the pretty little thing in the water. But then Mel Brooks's version lampooned that, but the song, and we were at about the right age. The song was "Oh, I Love My Pretty Little Flower," and that's what the girl was singing when the monster came up. And so for years after that movie came out, invariably, when my brother would go to the can, he would sing, "Oh, I love my pretty little flower." and he would never close the door. He'd be just on the pooper. "Oh, I love my pretty little flower." But he didn't know the rest of the lyrics, so he would start again. "Oh, I love my pretty little flower." So about 15 minutes into this experiment, you'd say, oh my God, he's singing "Oh, I Love My Pretty Little Flower" over and over and over with the door open. So you'd hide around the corner and you go, I'll wait just to the end of this next one. Oh, I love my pretty little flower. And then you come around the corner and you say, will you shut up about the pretty little flower? And he'd go, woo, woo. And you'd scare the shit out of him, which was impossible because all the shit was out of him by then.
I don't remember that. That was funny.
That was fun. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love my pretty little flower. Yeah.
Can you go back there and flush?
Oh, yeah, I got to flush.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, one of the most crass movies ever committed to celluloid, Blazing Saddles, was the only movie we ever had in our gigantic. You guys remember those 3/4-inch video machines? They were this big, right? And they were as big as your head, the cassette. That was the only video we had. So we watched Blazing Saddles thousands and thousands of times. And
Your dad's great.
We knew every bad word in that movie.
Oh.
And in real life, there were no grown-ups saying bad words in front of us. So we were convinced that the grown-ups who had written this movie had gone to our school to figure out what all the bad words are. Because we knew them at school, but no grown-ups seemed to know them, right? Yeah. So my dad thought that was quite amusing, that we had a complete disconnect, and they must have found these words out at our school.
Peter and David DeLuise, everyone.
Oh, I love my pretty little flower.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you for coming. Doctor. Thank you. Doctor. Hope you had a great convention. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you on the other side.
And my wonderful stage crew have almost got the stage set.
It's going and going.
Okay, so firstly, if anyone forgot, the DeLuise brothers